Good evening, everyone. I know it's hard to leave the snacks, but thank you for coming into the auditorium to join us for this artist talk. Happy New Year. My name's Erin Dunn. I'm the curator of modern and contemporary art here at Telfair Museums. Thank you so much for joining us tonight for this artist talk with Julia Roland. I do have a few thank yous before we get going. I want to thank the city of Savannah for their investment in Telfair. I also want to thank my fellow Telfair colleagues for their help with the exhibition, especially Heath Rich, Stephen Harmon, Uriah Monk, and Ryan Cox. I also want to extend my gratitude to FAAA for providing the snacks and refreshments tonight. Julia is a member of that group, and that group is actually celebrating their 20th anniversary this year, which is pretty incredible. So. I hope you will consider, if you're not a member, looking into their mission and possibly becoming a member. As many of you know, I see a lot of familiar faces here tonight, so we appreciate the support and return visits. Art 912 is an initiative that's dedicated to raising the visibility and promoting the vitality of artists living and working in Savannah. We officially launched the program in 2016, so we're really thrilled that it's the 10-year anniversary and that we can boast that we featured over 26 exhibitions related to this initiative and are really, really pleased to add Julia to that list of artists. Tonight we're celebrating her solo exhibition, A Seat at the Table, which features original paintings and a site-specific mural in the Art 912 gallery. Roland's identity as a queer Black woman from the American South informs her practice, but she sees the work speaking broadly to the human need for community. The exhibition invites painted figures and the viewer to meet in quiet dialogue, sharing a space around a table in both a physical and metaphorical sense. Through expressive hairstyles, layered color, contrasting backgrounds, and shifting poses, each unique subject's face becomes a focal point, meeting our gaze with insistence, a site of recognition and resistance. A Seat at the Table invites all voices into the room, asking us not just to look, but to witness human connection and empathize with ongoing struggles. The exhibition will be on view through December 6th of this year, so we're really pleased to have this long run and encourage you to keep bringing people back and checking it out throughout the year. Now, before I bring Julia on stage, I did want to share a bit of the background about the artist. Julia's a visual artist and graduate of the Savannah College of Art and Design, earning a BFA in painting with a minor in art history just last year, right? Or recently? Last year. So very recently. She began making art in 5th grade and continued her development through performing art schools in Savannah, here in her hometown, Garrison School for the Arts, and the Savannah Arts Academy. Her work explores the layered complexities of African American culture and human identity. She creates portraits that reflect her lived experience and intersections of race, gender, and sexuality in shaping identity and visibility. We're so thrilled to have this exhibition, A Seat at the Table, on view in the Art 912 gallery. And please join me in welcoming Julia to the stage. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And thank you all for coming. It really means a lot.
So I wanted to start with the mural because I think for both of us that was kind of the jumping off point for the exhibition and the concept that you were considering. So what were some of the ideas that kind of came into play after I talked to you about the possibility of painting a mural, and how did you kind of reach the final form of what it is now?
Yeah, so when I first heard about the project, obviously I was super nervous, like I'm gonna be painting on the walls of a museum, you know? And I was a little stumped because I wanted something that would relate to the people, but I wasn't quite sure how to do that or what sort of theme I wanted. And then funnily enough, we were touring the space and you were kind of like, yeah, this was our table room, and there were tables in the space.
That's because they were blank walls and just tables in there at the time, so I really need to be more careful with what I say, I think.
No, but I thank you for that because honestly, it sparked something in me and it made me immediately think about community. And I wanted people to feel welcomed and to feel like they had a spot in the space. The way that I did when I first found out about the project, I was just so thankful, and I started thinking about all of you and everybody who like poured into my life, you know, to make this a possibility. And so I wanted it to be a space of community, and so that's sort of how the theme came. I had the two figures at a table. I knew that I wanted them to feel like they were sitting in the space, and so it was important to not add too many like external details like of the setting, because I wanted it to feel like an extension of the room, like they were sitting with you and listening to what you had to say. So that's kind of what the composition was about.
Yeah, and I think that's, you know, emphasized, of course, by the frontally facing figures and kind of the more direct eye contact, which is a pretty continuous theme in your work and through the paintings that we see on the wall that are near the mural and in the hallway. And I wondered if you could kind of speak to that style of yours where the face, you know, is looking at us, but the bodies are often, you know, if they're not abstract, they're a little more androgynous, and kind of how you developed that style. Is it more recent? Is it something you've been playing with for a long time? And maybe just walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I was specifically exploring while I was a senior at SCAD. So I want the figures to kind of be looking back at you, to kind of be exchanging in like a sort of a quiet dialogue, kind of like a I see you, you see me sort of thing. And I feel like it just is representative of that first point of contact when you first meet someone and you first acknowledge them as a person. And so I feel like that moment is really special. I mean, they're painting, so they can't like speak back to you, but I kind of wanted them to speak back to you through that eye contact. As for the bodies, I am interested in the space between being specific and universal. So I use the figure, they're kind of like a reflection of me. Like this painting, for example, I mean, I use my body to paint it. I look at my face all the time. And so I feel like they're kind of like a direct reflection of who I am and what I represent. But I also want people to be able to form their own relation to the figures as well and kind of see whatever it speaks to them. So I don't want them to be too specific or to have too many like worldly indicators. That's why they're not clothes or anything like that.
When we were talking yesterday, you did mention that sometimes the hair has a little more kind of specificity to it that gives them a little more personality or individuality. Is that something you're always trying to do for the figures? Like have some sort of indicator like that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like our hair is an extension of ourselves, and so that's a way that I can represent their individuality and give like sort of the figures in my paintings that sort of autonomy. So yeah, and I also feel like being in the Black community, like hair is really important. It holds a lot of history and legacy, and so I feel like that's a way to sort of represent like me being African American in a way. So.
What about the colors in your painting? Are you thinking through very specific palettes for each work? How are you thinking about the colors for the mural even? Maybe kind of start there.
So the colors are sort of more intuitive, but I did want it to be bright because I wanted it to feel welcoming. I mean, my figures can kind of be a little ethereal and like creepy at times, and so I feel like if I didn't have that sort of saturation, like people would be scared rather than like welcomed into the space. But as far as like the colors for each specific painting, it's not like super thought out.
Yeah, I guess that is kind of
another
side to your work, is that direct eye contact can often be very unnerving instead of...
Yeah, and they're like not smiling. I mean, so yeah, I think the colors help to soften them a little bit.
Do you all feel welcomed into the space by the faces? Immediate audience feedback, you gotta love that. So I know you've recently been part of some artist residencies, and I wondered if you could speak to some of those experiences and how that has been developing your practice post SCAD. I think you were at Cedar House for a while in the Starland District, and is it the Peter Bullough Foundation in Virginia? And maybe just kind of speak to how being surrounded by other creatives and being given the space and time to work on your practice has advanced your career.
Yeah, I mean, I think both experiences were very beneficial to my career. With Cedar House being in Savannah, and I just had a studio for about 3 months. That was really nice, and it kind of challenged me to be like fresh out of school and to try to figure out that work-life balance, you know? I'm going to work, I'm coming home, I'm cooking dinner, then I have to go to the studio. And so that was really nice to sort of practice that and to like keep in my mind that I have that dedication to my craft. And then I had a show in June that showcased all of the work that I had made there, which was awesome. I got to pick the theme and everything that went into that, how many pieces, what sizes they were. And so it was really nice, and it was an LGBTQ plus residency. And my show at the end showed alongside a group show. So it was really nice to share my work. With the Peter Bullough Foundation, that was different because it was in Virginia and it was a month long. And I didn't know anybody or anything. I had never been to Virginia, and it was a small town. So I was like, what am I even going to do here? I guess paint, right? But
I was like, work on the works for the show.
Yeah, and there were only 2 other artists there, and they were like 10 years older than me. So that was kind of nice. They took me under their wing, but for most of the time, it was just me making my own schedule and deciding what I wanted to do. And sometimes for me, it's kind of hard to just do studies and just to make work, just to explore. I have that sort of mindset that I'm like making something for this or for this reason. So it was nice to have that time so that I could slow down and actually just make some studies and explore, no pressure. So I'm really thankful for those opportunities.
I mean, did you make some of the work for this exhibition there?
Yeah, I made, I think about 5 paintings in that month there for this show, which was a lot, but I mean, I had every day for a month, so yeah.
Yeah, what's your kind of typical timeline for making a painting? Do you paint quickly or?
Yeah, I paint fairly quickly. I mean, for something like a medium size, I could finish it in like 2-3 days, depending on how long I'm working on it. But I really tried to slow down and add a lot of detail and really think about what I was doing while I was there. So that was nice because it's like, what's the rush? You know, I'm just making work. So that was nice.
I was going to make a joke about the time lapse we have of you painting the mural, which is like 30 seconds. And I was like, you're actually a very quick painter, which everyone should watch that. It's really fun. But Julia was in there painting for 3 or 4 days working on the mural. Yeah, and I had no concept of how long that would take you. I was like, maybe it'll take into 2026, but you finished it very quickly.
I know, yeah, and I was nervous about that because I changed a part of the design, like the features and the hands and the feet. They were originally going to be rendered in grayscale, but I chose to render them monochromatically in accordance with the color of the bodies, just so they would kind of work well with the other paintings in the show, and like morph with my style, like because I made the design like over a year before I like installed it, so it was cool.
Yeah, and it's actually really wonderful. You can see just the really bright colors of the mural from Telfair Square. So walking into work and seeing that is a really fun discovery. I don't know if you've shared this news with everyone, but maybe they do know that your plans after this are to move to New York City. She's leaving us behind. Can you believe it? I mean, you grew up here, born and raised here. You've developed your artistic career here. You're going to go spread your wings in New York and see what the city has to offer. What are your plans?
I mean, I would love to work in a gallery or be represented by a gallery, but I'm really just going to go there and try to network my behind off because I'm not going to have the support system like I do here that I'm used to, you know, that sort of safety net. But I think it'll be okay. Yeah.
If anyone has some New York connections for Julia, I think we all know what an incredible painter you are, so I'm sure New York is lucky to have you, and we're excited to see kind of where that next stage goes. Of course, come back and visit your exhibition down here. I mean, your family's here, so you have to come back. And they'll come visit you, I'm sure. Who doesn't want to go to New York? So.
I mean, my mom's already going in March, so.
I think, we talked about this a lot in the interview yesterday, but maybe kind of explaining what your kind of hope and ideal takeaway for the visitors to your exhibition would be.
I want them to feel welcomed in the space. I want them to sort of make a connection with the figures in my paintings in a way that I hope that they would do with the real people around them. Just kind of giving that patience and that time to like accept what you're being faced with in front of you. Yeah, it's a positive show. I'm just so thankful. A seat at the table. I wouldn't have the seat at the table without everybody that has poured into my life, like I said earlier. So I also wanted to feel like they are sitting at the table with me, like it's not just me. So yeah.
Yeah, I wondered if you could speak maybe specifically to the work called My Game 2, which hopefully an image of it will pop back up on the screen. But that one I feel like has a lot of resonance with what you talk about as the theme of the exhibition.
Yeah, it's like the most personal painting in the show. So it's the person on the pool table. I know you guys know because a lot of people have asked me how much it costs. But yeah, it's just, I like to play pool. It's a fun hobby that I'm developing. And it's where I feel safe and happy with my friends. And sometimes, like, you're in a bar setting, so people kind of tend to threaten that space and try to make you feel unwelcomed or try to make you feel like you don't know how to play. And like you didn't just pay $1 for the table, And so it's like the most aggressive painting in the show too, because the stance that they have on the table and the facial expression, it's like, no, it's my game too. I deserve to be here more than anybody else, or just as much as anybody else. And I'm gonna take control of that and be confident in my place here. So yeah.
I mean, personally, I see a lot of resonance with like the idea of a museum experience in your exhibition and your works, where this idea of like, come into this space, everyone's welcome, hopefully you see something that reflects who you are, and can all kind of join in this communal viewing experience. So that's really what I take away from it, and I think, it's really wonderful work, and we love having it here. So I do want to open up the questions to the audience, because I'm sure you all have some really great questions that you're thinking about. I will say I am going to repeat the question after you ask it, just so, because we're recording this, so that the future recording can hear it. But let me know if anyone... Oh, I see a question from Clinton up there.
Great show. Can you talk about, like, what does your studio look like? What does your palette look like? Do you keep an organized studio? How do you mix colors? Kind of like what is we get to see the art, but what do we not get to see?
What does your studio look like?
It looks kind of like a living room. It has a couch and a cat. I would say my art supplies is pretty organized. It's all in like the pantry. I mean, I don't have that many non-perishables to put up, so. But I have a giant easel, and I usually work from a table. I usually work from a paper palette, because sometimes I'm using acrylic and oil, and I don't like to try to clean palettes afterwards. But yeah, I have all of my paint in a box. I sometimes mix my own colors. It really depends. I'm usually either making a color lighter or darker, because I'm just attracted to like the natural hue that comes right out of the tube. It's so bright, and I feel like it'll liven up my paintings. But yeah.
Right there.
Hey, Julia. What's your process of using the oil and acrylic? How are you working with that?
The question is, what's your process of working with oil and acrylic paints? Together.
So, I mean, you're not supposed to mix them, so usually I just kind of do my sketch in acrylic. I'll do some background in acrylic, and I'll render the figure in oil, like on top after it's finished. So it's just kind of like layering. You're not supposed to layer acrylic on top of oil either, because it can cause like cracking and all sort of problems. But yeah, I usually use it like instead of like a pencil to like sketch out my piece.
I see one question up top, and then I'll come down here.
Want me first?
Yes.
Odell Kane, 24-year retired military. Julia, who inspired you and your family to become an artist? I mean, what triggered you to decide this is what I want to do?
What inspired you to become an artist?
So, I mean, it's really my parents have inspired me. I grew up coming to this very museum. I don't know if like the picture.
Did you
has
see
some-
the adorable slide of her at Telfair?
Yeah, but all of those pictures were taken here, like taking trips with my mom, doing girls' days, you know, looking at the art. And I did a lot of art camps. I mean, I was also doing sports as well. I went to Garrison, which was an art school. I chose to do visual arts. When it came to going to Savannah Arts, I was either going to go to Savannah Arts or go to Islands because I had a spot on the varsity girls basketball team. And so that was kind of a pivotal moment in my life where I was like, okay, am I gonna do art or am I gonna choose sports? Like, what am I gonna do? But I chose art, yeah. And SCAD was always in my back corner, my backyard, kind of like, come to me, you know? So it just was kind of like a natural evolution. I mean, but my family was so supportive too. I mean, my Aunt Rochelle is here, and she runs a festival in Des Moines, Iowa, called Taste of the Junction. And since I was like 17, every year they honor different people from Valley Junction, and I hand paint portraits honoring the people, and we gift it to them. So I just kind of always grew up with doing art and having people continue to ask me to do it, and I just love it.
Question. The mural installation, is that here in the museum?
Yeah, it's in the show.
Yeah, so we'll have a few minutes afterwards if you want to check it out in the Art 912 space. It's up there.
Is that permanent?
Yes, so it'll be there for a year through December 6th, the end of, yeah.
What strikes me about that painting or the installation is that the other pictures, there's a finite space. But that installation on the wall kind of gets you off center with the angles and stuff like that. It's a little bit disoriented in a way. At the same time, curious. And looking at the scenery, that there's room for extension, it seems. It's not finite. It can go on.
Do you want to talk about the perspective a little bit in the mural?
I think it was just something to make the piece more fun. I mean, we talked about it being like close to the children's section of the museum, and so I know that funky geometric shapes are pivotal in like child development, and so that's like mainly what I was thinking about when I made the mural.
I know you have a background in art history, so are there any like specific artists or works of other artists that have inspired some of your paintings that you've done yourself?
Maybe speak to your background in art history and any artists who've inspired you.
I mean, none of the masters really. I mean, I like more contemporary artists. I like Nina Chanel Abney. I feel like we sort of speak to some of the same themes. I like her color usage, and she has fun pieces, but she still kind of explores personal themes of identity. I recently found out about this artist called Bob Thompson, and he was kind of part of the expressionist movement, but he did a lot of portraiture, ambiguous, figurative artwork where the faces aren't defined, but the bodies are like full flat color. And he was a black artist, and I was like, this is really cool. I remember a moment in college where I felt some underlying pressure to sort of represent the entire African American community in my work. And so it was really scary to me when I was sort of moving in this direction and no longer painting brown skin specifically. And so seeing his work made me feel a lot better about the choices that I made as an artist.
Do you think of Amy Sherald's work at all in you, or do you know Amy Sherald's work?
Yeah, I like her work. I feel like we're similar in the way that the figures are staring back at you. I mean, I love her as an artist. She's also from Georgia, so that's cool.
Columbus, Georgia. Shout out.
So, is your creativity directed mostly by your mood or your passion, or mood or motivation?
Sorry, is your artistic practice directed by your mood or motivation?
Yeah.
Yes.
Basically, our creativity, like, is when you get a creative thought, is it based on you get motivated that day, or is it just like you're going through something, the mood has changed, something happened?
I feel like it's a mixture of both, but honestly, for me, it's probably more motivation. I don't know if I should be saying that out loud. But I don't know, I'm a Gemini or whatever, so like, I have a lot of moods, and they're fast changing, so I would not be able to make all of that work. But yeah, I mean, I love the act of painting. Sometimes I think about like exploring different mediums, but I just keep coming back to painting because I love the motion. It's therapeutic for me, so I would say mostly motivation.
I have a question about how you abstract the bodies and then fully render the faces. Like, how does that come and play with how you see your identity in terms of gender or your ethnicity, or you're talking about being queer or even a Gemini? How does that all play in terms of the abstraction and then fully render your faces?
Maybe speaking to the abstraction of the body and how that feeds into a sense of identity.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like labels are important and I use them, but I also like don't want them to hinder my natural like fluidity and change as a person. And so I feel like rendering the bodies in this way doesn't fix me to one specific thing. I mean, like during the day I dress like a construction worker and now I have this shirt on, you know what I mean? So I feel like it's just a way for me to just have the figures be able to exist without people trying to place them in a box. And I feel like your face is the essence of the way you look, you know, it's how we communicate with each other. And so I wanted that to be highlighted, and I didn't want the body to be taken away from that as well.
I saw one hand go up in the back, so I'll grab that one first.
You have such a dramatic and beautiful sheen to so many of your figures. Was there a way with a study that you did, or like special lighting or photography that you looked at to achieve it so perfectly? The lighting too.
What was your process to achieve that? What was the process to achieve kind of the sheen and the light in your works?
Yeah, I really wanted to, you know, further emphasize the face and make that more dramatic. And so I started playing with the lighting just to make that like eye contact more intense. And then it sort of like transitioned to more of the body in the figure. But yeah, I think that skin is beautiful, brown skin is beautiful. I put a lot of like oil and Vaseline on, so I'm like shining anyways, and so sometimes, so yeah, I feel like it's a way to make the skin seem beautiful as well.
Are you thinking of any other people when you're doing your paintings in terms of the beautiful faces that are shown?
I mean, not really. Even when I use myself as a reference, I'm not necessarily trying to capture my likeness. But I've used photos of my family. I've gone through photo albums and chosen things that I've liked. It's really about the lighting mostly. But yeah, no one specific. Sorry, my dad.
Marquisa, did you have a question?
Yes. So I actually have two questions. I noticed some of the works are titled as three. I'm kind of assuming the viewer is the third in that because it only represents two figures. And if that is true, that is a great tactic for making people feel like they're part of the space. So I guess that wasn't really a question. But my question, some of your figures appear as if the body is a suit. It's coming over the face. It's concealing the ears. Is there a significance in that?
Maybe speak to the titling of some of your works and then also speak to the body as possibly like a suit or a body of armor, just because the way that it frames some of the faces in the paintings.
Yeah, this one is an example of what she was talking about. Well, it was titled 3 in translation, but you only see 2 figures in the painting because I wanted the viewer to kind of feel like they were part of the space and having that dialogue with the figures. As far as the suit goes, it was sort of like an older style when I was first developing this type of work. And it was like a way for me to, again, highlight the face as well. And to further try to like get rid of those worldly indicators. Yeah, that's mostly what that was about. But I think as I've like grown into myself and into my womanhood and stuff, and have become more confident in myself, the figures have kind of started to shed the suit, and now they're just existing, you know.
Calvin?
Well, I just really want to make a statement. I was talking with Erin earlier. You know, again, congratulations, Julia. You know, we're so proud of you. We love you. But when I told Erin earlier that being in that space, it's very quiet. So I feel like your pieces, they're not confrontational because they're aesthetically beautifully painted. So that puts you at calm and puts you at ease. And they're very smooth. So I feel that does the same. And then the colors are very colorful, but they're not bright. They're very subtle. And I just feel like all those traits really make your exhibition that much more approachable. But just being an aesthetically beautiful exhibition, it's very quiet, it's very subtle, it's very peaceful. And I'm just in awe, and I love the exhibition. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
Your work is beautiful and the exhibition is great. I saw one hand up there, Kim.
Just real basic question. I love the cutout pieces. I'm not sure if that's what the technical term for that is, but the first time you did that, did you paint with the intention of doing it that way, or was that sort of an afterthought after you made the painting?
So there are a few works in the show that are cutouts, wood on wood. So the question is asking about those works, if those were intentional paintings on the cutout woods.
Yeah, I mean, I made the design to be cut out. So I cut the wood, sanded it, gessoed it, and then I painted on top of like the shaped substrate. I feel like it was a way to further immerse my figures in the space and sort of break them out of that like traditional square rectangle. So that was just another way with playing with them.
Yeah, it really hones in on the faces in the work, which I think, speaks to a lot of what we've been talking about in terms of the theme, but it kind of draws you in, especially that one at the end of the hallway. I just want to know what's next. So I think those are really wonderful pieces to include.
Yes, the actual faces on your paintings, are these people that you know, or you create the faces?
So asking about the faces again, if they're people you know or they're kind of creations of your mind.
I mean, sometimes they're inspired by people I know, and a lot of times I'm just looking at like an image of myself or looking at myself in the mirror just to kind of get the features and the lighting, not necessarily trying to make a picture that looks exactly like me, you know.
Okay, yeah, Joanna.
Do you use digital media at all to help you compose, to make your compositions? Do you use, those tools like an iPad or anything for reference, or do you use a sketchbook?
So asking about if you use digital media or any kind of sketchbook as kind of preparatory work for your paintings.
Yeah, I usually use a sketchbook. I don't really like technology in that way. As a painter, I just like to work with my hands. But actually for the mural design, I did draw it up on my iPad. Well, I sketched it on in a sketchbook at first, and then I transferred it to the iPad to play with colors. And I just found the actual sketch for it the other day. I took a picture of it, and I was like, wow, that's busy. But yeah, usually I just sketch it out in my sketchbook. Sometimes it's really loose, sometimes it's really rendered. Yeah.
Destiny?
The hair shapes are super cool and kind of wacky. So, like, how do you decide the hair shapes? Like, are you basing it off of something, or is it just more free floating?
Speaking to the hair shapes and how you're kind of making those decisions. Free flowing or planned?
It's usually pretty free-flowing. It's usually I put the figure on there, and then I look at the remaining space in the piece and try to figure out how to activate it. In the pool piece, I used to have, like before I started locking my hair was kind of more shaped like that, so that personal piece, it was more reflective of my own hair at the time. But yeah, usually it's just kind of like an abstracted element that I like to add at the very end.
Marcy?
You mentioned that the older you're getting, the more comfortable you're feeling with the mask becoming just like your whole body. Do you think that the duality of, like, you always have like two figures, do you think that's something that is also going to be like integrated into one, or do you see it always there being a duality in you? Like, is that something that you also see like evolving in that becoming one, or in life are there always going to be a contrast?
Speaking to the duality that's seen in some of the work, if that's the mask and the body or the two figures in the work, is that something you see continuing in your paintings, or maybe does it become one in some of them?
I mean, I kind of like having both styles. I feel like they can sort of represent like the me that's like on stage and talking to people and presenting my work, and then the me that's like really anxious and like shy, and is not always wanting to show everyone the deepest parts of myself. And so I feel like it's kind of nice to have them all together, at least in a show setting. But I think it would be fun to sort of play with the two styles in one piece. So I think I might keep it for a while.
Jeanette?
So, any movie references that you're thinking of? I think the lighting itself is very cinematic. So, I mean, if there's anything off the top of your head that you're watching or was inspiring for this specific body of work?
Are you thinking of any kind of movie references or, maybe pop culture references, and especially in terms of the very cinematic lighting that's in your paintings?
Not specifically.
What TV are you watching? No.
When I first started this sort of style, my first painting was like a blue face that was kind of looking out with kind of wide eyes, and it almost looked a little teary-eyed. And so I was like, was I influenced by that one scene in Get Out, where he's like in the sunken place, that kind of thing? Because that's a really intense scene, and I kind of wanted to have that effect with that first painting. But nothing specifically. I recently watched Fantastic Planet. It's like an older like French movie. I think you guys are gonna show it. And it's a really cool movie about these aliens. It's kind of reversed, so they have like humans as pets, but the aliens kind of look like my figures. And I can't remember when it was made, but it's like an old animated like French movie from maybe like the 70s or something. But that was cool to think about.
Yeah, that's a good plug for our Pulse programming, which is happening January 22nd. It'll be a whole weekend of lots of really great programs like that film screening, so check it out.
Hi, Julia. Do you like to work in any kind of music, or do you like more of a quiet space when you're in the zone painting?
What's your zone that you like to be in your studio? Music, quiet?
Yeah, I love some sort of sound. Like I play music. Sometimes I'll put on a show that I've seen a million times just to have that sort of background chatter. But sometimes when I get in the flow, I'll be like, dang, it's been like 2 hours and I haven't said a single word or heard anything. So yeah, it really just depends. But usually I'll play like some sort of upbeat music.
I think we have time for one or two more questions. Sorry. Oh, there you go. We got two questions. Those are your final two questions. Clinton and then you.
Something that I really love about your work and also just this panel and how this is set up is it's so fun to have all of us like asking you these really specific deep questions. And some of your answers kind of like, I don't really know. And what I love is that like you put so much information in your work. I feel like that's where the answers are. It's just like is to look at those. And it's nice to hear sort of your personal ambiguity about them because it lets us have a little bit more of a relationship with it. You know, it's like that's my seat at the table with your work, and I really appreciate that. You know, there's a lot of mystery to it, and then also just the amount of like I've been watching the slideshow and like some of the earliest work is like 2024, 2023, like I think the acceleration of your style and the different ways that you're exploring like a really unique style that is very your own is really exciting to see. I'm really excited to see what comes next. So good luck in your work.
Thank you.
I don't know how to summarize that, Clinton, but I think, not everything has the right answer or an answer, and look to art and discover it for yourself and go pursue your dreams in New York. Any final questions?
Sure. Julia, so at the crossroad between sports and creativity, what was that defining factor that made you want to choose the latter?
Why aren't you said basketball, a basketball star versus an artist?
I don't really remember. I knew I was like at a crossroads. I loved them both equally. I think I had to think a lot about my community, specifically like my peers and the kind of relationships I wanted moving forward. And that was kind of the defining factor. And I think I just had like a gut feeling that I should do it. I was good at it, and people had supported me in it, and yeah, that's just what I chose.
I think that's a great thing to end on. Trust your gut, become an artist. The exhibition is on view in the Art 912 gallery, and we have a little bit of time. If you haven't had a chance to see it, please go check it out. There's still some really lovely refreshments and food brought by FAAA in that space. And so please go enjoy. The museum will be closing at 7:30, but we have a little bit of time. And thank you so much for coming tonight. And let's give Julia another round of applause.